My stance on Topaz is a quite positive one, although I appreciate one component of it more so than another, which might inspire discussions over why the extended cut is the superior edit. I first viewed the extended cut and enjoyed it, but I find now viewing the shorter theatrical cut, I enjoy this more so. I was always ambivalent on Topaz as a narrative or study of its characters, compared with it as Hitchcock's spy thriller exercise, trying to show his genre descendants how it is done. Hitchcock doesn't really delve into explicit sex or violence or hyperactive, overly new wave or psychoactive tendencies of 60s cinema. In fact, he feels a traditionalist to some extent on Topaz compared with the DIY handling of Chabrol's Black and White, Tiger, Eurospy titles, or the Harry Palmer trilogy starring Michael Caine, which Topaz resembles more than a Bond film or an average Eurospy film, and certainly compared with the Bond films themselves. Torn Curtain was closer to Terence Young's Bond films, the post-Goldfinger Thunderball likely less so, though Young would soon feel a traditionalist compared with Hamilton's and Gilbert's takes on the genres. Or Hunt's, though this wasn't entirely followed through within the Bond franchise. As a result of mainly caring about the execution, the narrative of Topaz I've never been entirely taken with, and so the theatrical cut keeps all of the best scenes in regard to thriller fare and excludes some added dialogue and a more open-ended conclusion. For the sheer wash of cinematic experience, Topaz I prefer as a shorter feature. I find the narrative components to be relatively superfluous, though the performers are mostly generally likable. I also consider it maybe a more underrated Hitchcock score. The collaborating of Hitchcock and Jarre lives up to the hype, especially when listened to in isolation. It is a very rich series of compositions. More enjoyable than Torn Curtain, less memorable than North by Northwest, not as inventive or gripping as the 39 Steps, though more watchable than Saboteur. Topaz is my third favourite Hitchcock film of the 60s, besides the two most obvious titles, two we discussed on the channel prior to ever undertaking this here lackluster retrospective. We endorse Topaz here, and once again, thank you all very much again.